The Denver Broncos have got to take care of business against the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday if they want to stay in this playoff conversation, and I think they will. I think this is a perfect matchup, but frankly, I don't know that much about Atlanta. All I know is like Chick-fil-A or something is there, and I remember Terrell Davis like dominating them in Super Bowl 33, which, shout out, I still have the hat from, which is really cool. So I had to go behind enemy lines and talk to a content creator, one of the biggest content creators for all of the ATL. His name is Smitty. Make sure you check out all of his stuff. Links in the description below. We talk about why this is a great matchup for the Denver Broncos defense, what we have to do to stop Bijan. We talk about kind of their injured secondary, the return home for Justin Simmons, that and so much more in this video. If you think the Broncos are going to win, will you like this video? And without further ado, here he is. How you feeling about this matchup?
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good right now. I just can't wait till it gets started. You know, I know it's going to be a tough game. Even though Denver's a young team, man, they still have a veteran coach and a guy that's been around the block. So I think that's a plus in itself. And he knows the division. He's 3-0 against the NFC South already. Be a clean sweep if y'all beat us, man. So we'll see what happens.
What is the thought in Falcon? What do you call yourself? Like it's Broncos country? Is it Falcons? What do you guys call yourself?
Dirty Bird
something?
Nation.
Okay.
Yeah, Dirty Bird Nation.
What's the thought about Sean Payton in Dirty Bird Nation?
We know he's still a threat, man. As long as he's coaching, we faced him 16 years in a row, probably over 35, 40 times while he was coaching. And it was a tough go every time. And New Orleans actually had a winning record against the Falcons while he was coaching. So he knows us. We know him. And we have to prepare very well for him because we know his offenses are high powered, and no matter who he's coaching, he always finds a way to pull out wins. He started this season at a 500 clip right now, and the defense is playing out of their mind. So it's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah. All right. What would you say is the Falcons' biggest strength? I know very little about them other than y'all got Kirk Cousins and we hear about Drake London being good. I know Bijan's a beast, but what would you say is the Falcons' biggest strength?
I think the strength is the offense as a whole. The way they're starting to build chemistry with a young offense coordinator such as Zach Robinson and a veteran quarterback in Kirk Cousins, I think they're a perfect mesh. And they're slowly beginning to build trust in each other. Last week was a step behind, but again, previous 4 games before that, they started to kind of hit a stride, but took a snag last week. And against Denver, I think it's going to be tough. But I think if they get on the right page in the film room and all that, I think they'll be fine. But offense is probably our best asset right now, and mainly the offensive line, because if the offensive line plays well, Kirk Cousins stays upright, completes passes, and Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, they run effectively. So I would say offensive line is probably the main cog of this team right now.
Yeah. What injury-wise, like we were seeing rumors all over Twitter that it might be Michael Penix playing, that Cousins has a sore elbow and shoulder. What is the final injury report for this game look like?
He was a full go at practice before leaving for Denver, and I think that's positive. And also with the walkthrough, he was fine. But I think, you know, now that they have to report it to the NFL, even if they feel like something is wrong, they have to report it. It was a shoulder, elbow, and I think it's just come from wear and tear, being sacked as many times. He's been sacked 20 times already. And if you've seen some of the sacks, they force turnovers on those, and you know you can easily get a hyperextended elbow or anything from being hit by a defensive line being fallen on top of. So you know it was just precaution. But I think he'll be a full go on Sunday. I honestly don't see Michael Penix hitting the field unless the Falcons are far out in front. But Kirk Cousins, I think he's good to go on Sunday.
Yeah. So then what other side, what would you say if your offense or offensive line, obviously getting Bijan going is huge. What would be the biggest weakness for the Falcons?
On offense or overall?
Yeah, just team overall. What would you say the Broncos are going to try to look to exploit?
We know Sean Payton, he likes to run a lot of screens, a lot of dink and dunk passes. So I think you'll see a lot of underneath stuff. And they could actually be effective if they get the running game going. Javonte Williams was supposed to be that guy, but I think y'all have a rookie now running the football. So if they get the run game going, I think it sets up the play action, and that's what Sean Payton did so well in New Orleans with Drew Brees and Alvin Kamara and these guys. So I think the weakness on the Falcons defense would probably be playing against the run. You talk about the defensive line as a whole, they're kind of small up front, and this has haunted the Falcons for a couple of years now. And against a team like Denver, whose offensive line is a little bit more athletic, I think it may pose problems. But I think the Falcons could find a way, even though we don't get out the quarterback very well. I think we can find a way to pressure Bo Nix.
So looking at this, you don't have a pass rusher who's like popping off the charts or anything. So in the draft, like when y'all drafted Michael Penix, everyone was shocked because there were some pass rushers available. What does it sound like was the rationale behind getting Penix when Kirk Cousins is like a dog, man? I love Cousins as a dude and a leader and all that. So why get Penix and not a great defender?
Yeah, honestly, Kirk Cousins almost came to Denver when Peyton came, so that would have been nice. But the feeling, it was rough at first. A lot of people didn't understand it, but I understood it from the jump, and I actually had them taking Michael Penix, because something about what they've been going through the last 4 or 5 years. You talk about having to trade your franchise leader in stats and Matt Ryan, one of the Falcon greats. Then you have to go through it with Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke. So quarterback really was the only option. And we talk about bringing in Kirk Cousins on that big contract. But at the same time, you got to have a quarterback after he's long gone. And we've seen this work with Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love in Green Bay. So why not try it out? Let him learn up under a veteran. Don't have to throw him into the fire right away. He learns the system. And hey, if Zach Robinson is still around once it's his time to go, hey, everything's in place. You don't have to pay a quarterback a boatload of money. And at the same time, you get to build a team just as you're doing that, and you don't have to worry about paying $50-60 million for a quarterback. So it all made sense in the end to me. But it's grown on folks in Atlanta, and I think they're getting used to it finally.
Yeah. You kind of see what the Chiefs did, where you had Alex Smith who was making Pro Bowls and they were in AFC championship games, and then they bring in Mahomes and seemed to work out well for them. And it sounds like Michael Penix is a great guy and he's got a cannon of an arm. So that'll be interesting to watch. One of the things at the trade deadline, everyone in Denver thought for some reason that Kyle Pitts was a possibility. What do you think the Falcons' long-term plans are with Kyle Pitts? Was he ever on the trade block? What is the deal with Kyle Pitts? And
that's
I think
a great
that could be
question.
A huge mismatch.
That's a great question. I don't think he was ever on the trade block, and honestly, I don't think he will be on the trade block. Now, if he got to trade, it wouldn't surprise me. But I don't see him on trade block right now. He has one more year. Well, he's on his 5th-year option. I think they've approved that already. So he may be here next year. But if he get traded, I don't think you would get much for him for what you spent for him as a number 4 overall pick. So it really wouldn't make sense. Now, you could lose him for nothing, and that would be devastating. But at the same time, if he can turn it on this season, going into the back end of the schedule, because after y'all we have a bye week, but the back half of the schedule is a little bit tougher than we anticipated before the season started. But if he can turn it on like we see he has been able to, just like the Tampa Bay game, man, he had 92 catches and a touchdown, 2 touchdowns actually. And we saw that he could take the top off the defense. He can make big plays. But if he can just keep doing that constantly, I think they have no reason to let him go. And I think he signs another contract. But if he doesn't evolve into what we think he has by the end of the season, yeah, he could be traded. But again, the compensation won't be fair if he gets traded. So it really wouldn't make sense.
Well, I think that could be, the Broncos historically have struggled against tight ends. It was interesting to see when we played the Raiders, you actually had Pat Surtain guarding Brock Bowers for a while, but it feels like playing the Falcons, you can't take him off of London. So that could be something, a big mismatch for sure. So I think that's something we all should definitely keep our eyes on. Are the Falcons a playoff team in your mind? Like, do you think when the season all runs out, they will be in the NFC playoffs?
Yes, they've actually shown that they can hang with some of the tougher teams. The problem is finishing games, and sometimes let me rephrase that. Sometimes it's getting off to a fast start, and sometimes it's finishing games. Just like the Seattle game, they seemed unprepared. They played well for a while, then fell out of the rhythm. It's the same thing that happened last week with New Orleans. Off to a slow start, but then they got it going. Once they got the run game going in the third quarter, they looked like a different team. But they could not finish the game. So once they learn how to have a complete game, I think the sky's the limit for the Atlanta Falcons. And one thing about it, if their offense gets going and controls the clock with that run game, I think it helps the defense out a lot, keeps them a little bit fresher, and takes a lot of stress off them because, as I said, if they're not getting after the quarterback, 9 times out of 10, they're staying on the field just a little bit too long. And in the end, that kind of gasses the team in the fourth quarter. And we all know Denver gets stronger on defense as the game goes on, and that might be vital.
Yeah. Well, one of our all-time favorites coming back home, Justin Simmons. What is the opinion of our boy Justin Simmons in Atlanta? Do you guys like him?
I love Justin Simmons, man. I was praying that he came, and he did come. Honestly, the last couple of games he's looked, out of sorts as to falling out of understanding of the system because he's been caught out of place a lot the last couple of games, and it just doesn't look like Justin Simmons. But hopefully, the scheming gets better, the game planning gets better, and he's, where he's supposed to be, because sometimes if the scheme is not right and you're not understanding the scheme, you can be out of place a lot, and that can make you look bad. But I think he can catch on to the scheme, working with Jesse Bates just a little bit more, and those guys get on the same page. I guarantee you that helps him down the stretch look better and play better. So I love the acquisition.
Yeah, man, he's a great dude. It'll be interesting to see what kind of reception he gets. Is he going to get a little video montage ahead of time, or what's going to happen there? So we'll definitely be keeping our eyes on that. So, got two questions here for you. The Atlanta Falcons win if, and then the Denver Broncos win if. So let's start with Atlanta Falcons win if. What has to happen for y'all to win?
The Atlanta Falcons win if they can run the ball effectively and set up the play action, because that is what Kirk Cousins strives on. If they can get Bijan Robinson going, who he's had 5 consecutive games, 100 yards from scrimmage, if he makes it a 6 and that run game gets going, if Kirk Cousins gets that play action going, Kyle Pitts, Darnell Mooney, and Drake London, I think will be the deciding factor in beating the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos win if they shut down the run game, keep Kirk Cousins under pressure like they probably are going to, because Vance Joseph, he's known for throwing different kind of blitz schemes at people. Yep. And he can beat you in so many ways with that scheme and defense. If Denver schemes right on defense and puts pressure on Cousins and shut down the Falcons run, I think that's a recipe for a Broncos win.
Oof, love it, man. All right, last question before your score prediction. There's a lot of debate on, is Bo Nix him? Like, is he a franchise quarterback? And I love just hearing national takes on him. What's the national or Atlanta take on Bo Nix? Are you scared at all of him? Do you think he's a check down king, or what do y'all think about Bo Nix?
One thing about quarterbacks, I've always believed, is they're only as strong as the system that they play in. And honestly, I think he's a Sean Payton type guy. He's not very stout. He's not very super strong arm, but he's accurate, and he can make throws, and he can make plays with his leg to extend plays. And that's what Sean Payton likes. And Bo Nix, if he stays under Sean Payton, I think he'll have a very solid NFL career. But one thing that I will say that I think that could help the Falcons this week, his college teammate Brandon Dorlus out of Oregon, practice against him every day. He knows Bo Nix, and I think the Falcons will use Dorlus to probably try to slow Nix down. And Nix had a pretty good game against Kansas City. Yeah. I will give him that. They had a very strong game, and they should have won other than that block kick. But Bo Nix does exactly what he needs to do. And like I said, with Sean Payton's scheme and the way he schemes up plays, I think Bo Nix will have a great game.
Yeah, man. Well, for sure. I'm a huge believer, but that's a really interesting take that y'all got his former college teammate, and who's going to know him better and how to exploit it and tell that to your defensive coordinator. So that'll definitely be very, very interesting to watch. So what's your final score prediction?
I'm gonna just say this, like I said on my preview show, I think it's going to be very close because both defenses, but I think the Falcons they can pull it out in the last second field goal. I got 20-17.
2017. I hope we block that last field goal. I think the Broncos win by at least a touchdown. But we could see this going either way. Like, is this going to be like the Hail Mary was for the Chicago Bears and it
Right.
derails our whole season, or do we unite under Sean Payton? So it's going to be crazy to watch, man. Where first off, I'm also wearing this was to try to rattle you. This is a Terrell Davis jersey. Do you remember him from Super Bowl 33? I
Oh yeah.
also
Oh yeah.
have my Super Bowl 33 hat. So I mean,
Hey man,
yeah.
I'm a diehard Georgia Bulldogs fan. I remember him in college.
Oh, that's well, we got No Sean. That's our boy too. I love him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Cool. So where can our viewers go to watch and collaborate with you? You do a post-game show. I want them to go check out for sure. But what's your channel? And I'll link it below for sure.
Okay. Find me on Smitty Sports Machine on YouTube. I do I do breaking news, top stories on the Atlanta Falcons. I have a crew that I do a show with, the 95 North Sports Machine, and we do Falcons preview shows, post game shows, and pop up shows. On Tuesdays, you can catch me on the NFC South Roundtable as I represent the Falcons against Saints, Bucks, Panthers content creators. We debate, we talk about recap, previews, and things of that nature. But that's on Tuesday at 7 p.m. on the NFC South Roundtable. We just like to have fun, man, and bring y'all the best content we can.
Sweet, man. Well, links to all that in the description, I believe. Dirty Bird Nation, thanks for showing up, man. I appreciate you. Well, a massive shout out to Smitty. If you've been watching this channel for a while, I've been in a bit of a shooting slump, but you know when I sink this last jumper, the Broncos are undefeated, so we've got a ton to believe in. Oh, shooter's touch. I'm back.